Hey there, everybody. Grishord here with Grishord Games. Going to give you a breakdown of this week's Wingman Hanger, April 5th edition. Lots of information on it. Theirs was a little bit longer than it needs to be in regards to, content and stuff like that. They do some interesting things, though, so if you do want to see the whole thing, I strongly advise you head over to the Wingman Hanger YouTube page and watch the whole video. It's about 35 minutes long. We had our first debrief was with Rob Irwin. He is the lead game developer for Robert Space Industries. He went to the GDC, or the Game Developers Conference, in, I believe it was San Francisco this year. That's where they were the last week, 10 days. He sat on several panels, and he shared some of what he learned with us. He wants to keep the content world alive. That's very, very important to him. He stressed that a couple times during his brief interview. Keeping things fresh and always happening. They're going to mine the data and lore from players, what players do, they come up with lore for their characters, how you build your character from things you accomplish throughout the game. The layers will essentially create the lore, and then the developers will command it and take reign. So it'll be kind of hand in hand where we'll be making the game as players, but they'll be, the actual ones developing it. But they'll use our content, our lore, and stuff like that to help push the game forward. So things you do will matter as long as, things you do are significant and not just flying, back and forth in circles and stuff. Nobody's going to care about that. He almost let something really big slip. I don't know what it was because they edited it out. They cut him off. This big edited picture came up, and then it was gone. Then they came back, and they're like, wow, that was really interesting. But we don't know what it was. And I haven't been able to find anything on it. If you do, let me know, and I'll post a link to it. Then Jason Spangler came on. He's the CTO for Space Industries. He sat in, I think, the most panels. His interview was really, really brief, though. He was focusing on learning what the specs are going to be in 2014. That's when this game is set to launch, November 2014-ish, give or take. So we're not really sure, if they're trying to push the release date up a little bit. I'll get to that here in a second. But he was sitting on, I believe in it, he said an NVIDIA panel and a couple other panels just to see where stuff's going to be at that time, where it's going to be this fall when the alpha comes out, where it's going to be next year for the beta and all that. And just trying to make sure that they are working on the future and not the present. They're going to generate different levels of detail off the meshes to make it a little bit easier to where they don't have to render every single little thing. It'll mesh render, so it'll be easier on your computer and easier for them to do. He also mentioned that when you're up close, you'll see tons of detail. Absolutely. And I've got a little clip here in a little bit I'm going to show you about the detail on just the landing gear for the 300i. But he said that when you're far away, it won't render as much. It won't be like some games where it tries to render everything no matter how close you are to it. The further away you are from something, the less it's going to render, so it'll save your GPU and CPU. There was a lot of tech sharing between different companies. He didn't really get into specifics on that, but he said that it will help with what he learned and what... Brian Brewer, the lead animator, he dropped in for about 2 seconds. He wasn't there very long. He's in charge of in-game character animation. Hopefully I've got an overlay going right now of what he showed us. It's a mock character trying to get full performance. He's doing kind of a little workout routine, or at least should be right now on the screen. They're trying to get full performance caption, face, audio, etc. It's going to be similar to blocking out a play to increase the immersion level. They want characters, when they say something, like my facial expressions do, they want it to show on the characters, so you can feel what that character's feeling by looking at them. You can go off, facial recognition as to how they feel, if they're troubled, whatever. That's what they want. Maybe not day one, but that's their plan. We then got to walk around the office a little bit. Didn't really show us a whole lot. But we did get to see Chris Smith working on the 300i landing gear, and there should be a video of that playing right now. He goes on to say how everything's going to be very, very high fidelity. They're going to push the boundaries of computer gaming, and just what you can see in this video by the landing gear, the ships are going to be absolutely crazy on how detailed they are. The 300i, which is a smaller ship, mind you, is going to take 5 to 6 weeks start to finish to produce. That's all the rendering, all of everything, how many hours a day and stuff they didn't really get into, but he said it'll take roughly 5 to 6 weeks just for this one ship, and they're planning on having around 50 at launch. So that's definitely something to keep in mind of on how when you're flying around your 300i, just remember all that effort that went into it. Forum feedback, quite a bit of questions here. Question, will you announce in advance when events you'll be attending in future so fans can make plans to attend? Yes, they are going to try to announce things for pledgers and golden ticket holders to attend. There's a Gamescom in Germany that they're hoping to go to. I don't recall when it was. I want to say they said it was in 3 months, if they even said. I'm really not sure on that. I'll double check it. Will ship sensors be similar to the rest of the components and how you can upgrade or tweak them for better performance? Yes. The couple of the answers on here were kind of dodgy, so bear with me. These are not my answers. These are their answers. Yes, they want the environment to be as interactive as possible, but they're still designing it. Environmental action is key, so the more they can do, maybe later, maybe not necessarily day one. Again, that doesn't really seem like it has anything to do with sensors, but that's the answer they gave, so that's the answer I'm giving y'all. Will everything be called lasers? Will every gun just be a laser gun? No, they're going to have plasma, neutron, particle cannons. Not everything's going to be laser. There will be multiple projectiles. Missiles are already confirmed. They didn't go say what else there will be, but he did say there will be more than one type of projectile weapon as well. Will there be docking limits to circumvent crashing certain areas? So similar to WoW, when there's a raid in WoW on a capital city, if it's more than 200 or 300 people, it crashes the server. And they're trying to avoid that. Yes, server sharding system will have a top on how many players can be in a certain instance. It'll be, to be determined. They don't know what the cap is. They have thrown out a number before, I believe 100 to 150, but that was just them throwing out a number. The Hanger app coming up here in, I believe, about 4 to 6 months. And the alpha test is when they're going to figure it out. They don't want a 2,500, and they threw this number out, ship attack happening, unless the servers can handle it. He made it sound like if the servers can handle 2,500 ships, they're going to have 2,500 ships. But he also did mention that to think of the game more of Battle of Britain dogfighting style, shooting at each other in more of that scale is what they're after, but that's still to be determined, so that could change as well. In response to what happens if you hijack a carrier, because the only way to get carriers is, at this point in time, from what they've released, is to steal them from the UEE or another big organization. Well, they're probably going to try to blow you up, is their official answer. Having a carrier will make you a target. They don't want people to have power besides them. They will come at you, and they will come at you hard. So you're not going to be able to park your carrier in UEE space unless you find some legitimate means, which they didn't say there is one, of obtaining one. But so far, you have to capture carriers to own them, and the UE, they will not forgive that. Are there plans for game tools to manage clans or alliances? Yes, of course there are. Friends, clans, guilds, whatever you want to call them. There will be tools, there will be website tools to help keep track of that when it comes online. The new website is undergoing development. They walked by the screen where the guy was working on it, but didn't really show us anything. He actually whipped the camera away, so all it was a blur, and nothing I could even capture in the video. Will there be player housing? Duh, was their response. Haven't you heard of hangers? All this talk about the hanger app coming out and all that stuff. The hanger is your house, and you'll be able to have multiple hangers around the universe. They didn't say how many, but they did confirm you'll be able to have more than one hanger. Will we be able to interact with the environment to create more imaginative deaths? Again, this is kind of a hit and miss answer. It seemed like he dodged it a little bit. Absolutely, there will be tons of upgrades and counters to those upgrades to nav systems, etc. He did go on to say that there will be, he didn't use the word bruiser, that's my word, but there'll be bruiser-style ships where you're just slowly drifting through, or you can have stealth ships, etc. It just depends on how you outfit it. Didn't really answer the question, but it did give us a little bit more information. Another question, which I was kind of curious about, if you keep mining one planet, will it be eventually empty? So eventually the whole universe will be mined empty. Will there be countermeasures to avoid this? Their response was, Earth is 4.6 billion years old, and lots of stuff is here still. If in 5 billion, yes, they said this, if in 5 billion years people are still playing Star Citizen, they'll get to it then. They'll let those people worry about it. But that's not going to be an issue. Pretty sure they'll be okay, was his official response. Interest in selling of slave players. Will that require a slave pin, freezing mechanism, or will the default cutlass and tractor beam be sufficient? He didn't really answer it. He said you probably won't be able to make a living doing slave trading, capturing pods that jettison out of ships, but they will be a commodity. He didn't answer any of the other questions. That's all he said. You probably won't be able to make a living, but it will be a commodity. We then got a very brief interview. It was a longer interview, but a lot of it wasn't about the game, and that's all we're focused here is what has to do with the game. Brendan Jackson, the lead graphics programmer, he's working right now. His main focus is creating new shader effects for the engine, the Cry 3 engine, hoping to achieve the visual look and feel that Chris Roberts is looking for. So again, more realism in there, going for shaders and real-time shadows and stuff like that. He also did say the Oculus Rift is very important. They gave them a lot of things to look out for while he was at the convention, and the plan right now is to have Star Citizen be an Oculus Rift game. As soon as they get dev kits, they have not received their dev kits yet, so it's hard for them to start making development moves when they don't have their development kits yet. They got a lot of quote-unquote advice to make the game not suck for the Rift. So that should be good. It means hopefully no motion sickness and stuff like that. And when you're looking around out in space, hopefully that'll help go to gear that a little bit better. That's really all the Wingman Hanger had as far as directed to the game. Again, there was 35 minutes of content. Not everything is relevant to Star Citizen. This is just about the Star Citizen stuff. Grishord with Grishord Games. Leave me some comments, subscribe, let me know what you think. Thanks.